ladies and gentlemen. We do apologize for some of the technical difficulties that ended up arising during the very beginning of Donald Byrne's presentation. But we are going to repeat our introduction, and we're going to start like it almost didn't happen. Okay. So good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today of our virtual presentation. My name is Joe Andrews, Councillor with the Town of Orangeville. On behalf of the Town of Orangeville, it is my pleasure to welcome you to today's event, brought to you by the Orangeville and Area Small Business Enterprise Center, with support from the town's Business and Economic Development Advisory Committee. The town's BDAC committee works closely with the Economic Development and Culture Office to deliver initiatives throughout the calendar year, including events such as the one we're watching today, Thriving in the Post-Pandemic Economy. On behalf of the committee, we are pleased that you could join us, and again, thank you. Inviting the audience to participate through our chat box, which you will see at the very top of your, information or message menu bar. You'll be able to access throughout the presentation, but please use the chat box to post your comments or questions to Mr. Burns, and you are welcome to do so throughout his presentation. We will end up looking at the themes and specific questions that will be assembled after his presentation. Now, as a reminder, there's a 60-second delay on the chat box, thus it is suggested to watch the questions posed, and this will avoid repeated questions and or duplicated themes. Although your microphones are muted, the chat box will be open and monitored, as I mentioned, throughout this event. And now, on behalf of the Town of Orangeville, I'd like to welcome you to the Thriving in the Post-Pandemic Economy with Donald Byrnes. Our guest speaker started his working life at the age of 15, washing dishes for his father, who was an executive chef. At the age of 18, he enlisted in the U.S. Air Force and was a member of the elite para-rescue team. After his service to his country, Donald attended the University of Miami, where he continued to work with world-class chefs. Donald has spent 40 years as a restaurant owner, executive chef with Wolfgang Puck, and a consultant coach to billion-dollar brands, celebrity chefs, and ma and pa restaurants owners around the globe. Donald Byrnes is the restaurant coach, named one of the top 30 restaurant experts to follow, and one of the 23 inspiring hospitality experts to follow on Twitter. His first book, Your Restaurant Sucks, is an international bestseller, and it will be available to you at no charge to registrants at the conclusion of today's event. Books can be picked up at the Economic Development SPEC office, which is located at 200 Lakeview Court here in Orangeville. It is with my absolute pleasure that I present to you Donald Byrnes. And hello again, Donald.
Hello. Hey, second is always better. I think the intro is even more spectacular the second time around. Thank you. I appreciate it. So anyway, I am excited to be here today. I'm telling you, thriving in the post-pandemic economy, creating a 5-star customer experience. Let's jump into it, shall we? So the restaurant world, and actually, all businesses, the world itself will never be the same after what we've been through over the past few years. Things have changed rapidly for restaurants around the globe, and many look to the United States for trends and insights onto which direction the industry is headed. Now, I work with mostly independent restaurants. I tend to work with restaurant groups that usually have 1 to 6 locations. And I'm going to tell you right now, I can go into any market around the world, and just based on the experience I have from 40 years of working with restaurants, that every restaurant market is divided into 4 categories, basically 4 different stages of growth. And if we looked at this pyramid, I'll tell you right now, 20%, the bottom of the pyramid, these restaurants are struggling. And these restaurants basically are either losing money or basically breaking even. And I always kind of make the joke that if your goal is to break even, you need a lot better goal, because breaking even is not a really good goal. But that's where a lot of these restaurants are. And those restaurants, unfortunately, don't usually make it because they just have a bad concept, bad culture, and it usually not set up for success. The next level up is what I call surviving. These are what I call the good restaurants. Now, if you notice, this is 60% of any market in the world. Any restaurant market, any city I go to, 60% of the restaurants are surviving. Basically, that means is they're making what is in the United States, the national average is 5 to 6% profit. I don't know about you, but 5 to 6% profit's not really something that's a really great sustainable number for long term. And the reason I say they're surviving is they feel like they're a lot like on a roller coaster, or kind of like up and down. Like they'll have a great month and a bad month. They have a great month and a bad month. Now that next level up is what I call the great restaurants. And these restaurants are you could say they're thriving in the market. They're doing really, really good. And only 15% of any restaurants in any market are thriving. And they're making anywhere from 7 to 15% gross profit. Okay. Now, the very top of the pyramid, that little green pyramid at the top, is reserved for those restaurants that what I call are outstanding. They basically stand so far out in the market that they don't really have competition. And they're basically what I say is driving the market. They're the ones that get imitated. They're the ones that people copy. They're the ones that people aspire to be like. Now, here is where restaurants go sideways. Restaurant owners get off track because they focus on the wrong things. Now, hashtag, I'm going to say this a lot. I'm going to say hashtag WTD. WTD means write this down. When I say hashtag write this down, these are like the little gold nuggets that you want to remember and take note of. Hashtag write this down. If everything is important, then nothing is. Now, there are 11 traits that the most successful restaurant brands in the United States all have in common. And I'm going to use the word today. I'm going to use the word trait, but you could easily say habit instead. And also, I know we're doing a kind of a broad spectrum of businesses. I'm going to be using the word restaurants a lot, but you could easily replace that with business. And throughout the presentation, I might kind of like swap out the word restaurant for business all the time. So here's the next one I want you to do for a hashtag, write this down. Your restaurant or your business is a reflection of your habits, period. Now, if your restaurant, your business is running smooth and you're making a lot of profit, then you have more good habits than bad habits. And if your restaurant is running a little rough, then you have some habits that have to be changed. Here's the great news. All right. Habits are learned behavior. Now, Joe did a great introduction and talked about who I was. Give you a little bit of my backstory again. I am Donald Burns. I grew up in the restaurant business. My father was a chef for a large corporate hotel chain. Anyone remember? I mean, there was a big, huge chain in the United States called Holiday Inns. I started, like most people, I started washing dishes. Then I moved up to prep. And eventually I started cooking and working my way up through the brigade system in the restaurant. I would do something to make my father mad. And then I'd be back peeling vegetables. I'd work my way up. And then I'm telling you, it was a horrible lifestyle. My father was like the Gordon Ramsay of his time. When I was 18, he told me it was in my blood. I told him I wanted a transfusion. So I did what any young man would do, trying to escape a very dominant father figure. I joined the Air Force. I was supposed to go into language school, specifically Russian language school. And then a funny thing happened at basic training. This sergeant came in and he showed this film of these guys jumping out of airplanes, rappelling out of helicopters, scuba diving, mountain climbing. And it was for a group called Pararescue. Basically search and rescue team. So I tried out for a team. I made it, and it was an amazing experience. And pararescue teams, if you don't know, pararescue teams have one of the highest washout rates in special operations schools. We started with around 90 guys, and then 2 years later, I stood on stage with only 11 guys that made it through the training with me. And then after 4 years in the military, I did go to the University of Miami, and I worked in restaurants at night because I had a lot of experience from high school. I started working with the right chefs, right places. Then at 30, opened my first restaurant. At 33, I opened my second restaurant. I sold them after 8 years. And then I was recruited in California by a chef known by the name of Wolfgang Puck. And I worked for Wolf for 5 years, going around the country, opening restaurants for him. And then in 2005, I started my own company. And then I know Joe mentioned that I have a couple of books out there. Your Restaurant Sucks is my first book. Your Restaurant Still Sucks was my second book. And my third book coming out at the end of May. And again, this is just a testament of how COVID has pushed everything to the back burner. My third book will be coming out. It'll be called Your Restaurant Culture Sucks. Will be coming out pretty soon. So I'm really excited about that book too. And then I'm done with the Suck series. It's a trilogy, and I can put to bed and move on to other topics and stuff like that. So without further ado, let's talk about the 11 traits of the most successful restaurants in the United States. Number 1. They have a compelling why or vision. So here's my question I would ask you. Why do you do what you do? Why do you get up in your morning and go to your business, your restaurant, and work all day and night? one of the most inspiring books I can tell you on the market is Simon Sinek has his best-selling book called Start With Why. And he says that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. That's so true. And yet so many people have no idea what their why is. And that's the reason most marketing really sucks. Now, Simon Sinek talks about a concept in the book called the golden circle. And if you can learn the correct way to communicate, it will change the course of your business in a very, very positive way. So when we look at the golden circle, you see it's just 3 rings. There's what, how, and why. Now, every restaurant, every business in the world knows what they do. Like you're a pizza shop, you're a tapas bar, you're a gastropub. Most restaurants know how they're different, and that's the how. Like maybe we have a wood, we have a Jasper wood burning grill. We have a imported Italian pizza oven. We use family recipes. Marketing kind of pros call this your USP or your unique selling proposition. Very few restaurants know why they do what they do, and that's the mistake. See, what and how do not inspire people to take action. Only the why gets people to come to your restaurant or come to your business. The number one thing you can do today to start improving your marketing is to learn which direction you want to communicate from. 90% of restaurants and businesses communicate from the outside in because it's logical. Hashtag write this down. We buy for emotional reasons and we justify it with logical ones. So a typical restaurant operates like this. They kind of, again, they market from the outside in. They start with the what, and then they go to the how. And again, we don't buy for logical reasons. We buy for emotional reasons. We justify them with logic. Here's the thing I want you to think about: how a typical restaurant communicates, or a typical business. And I'll give you an example of one I hear all the time. We're a local family taco restaurant. Okay, we follow family recipes and we make everything fresh. You want to buy some tacos? See, it's boring. So let's flip that around and let's start with the why first. Now, if we start with the why, their kind of conversation is going to be a little different. And it would go something more like this: we believe that your food should be prepared in front of you so you can see our commitment to freshness and quality. We believe that your food shouldn't contain chemicals or GMOs. We believe that gathering around the table to share life with family and friends is what our restaurant is all about. Now, we follow handed down recipes from our family in Oaxaca, and we also make damn good tacos. You see the difference? When you start with the why and communicate down and out, it makes a huge impact. And probably one of the brands I would say that has probably the best marketing message about their why is Chipotle Mexican Grill in the United States. Now, number 2, they have high standards. Each week, I'll have someone call me and ask, what's something I could do today to have a better restaurant, have a better business? And my response is always the same. The number one thing that will change your restaurant or your life is you must raise your standards. Okay. Now, raise your standards. Sounds pretty basic and boring, but let me tell you what, and hashtag write this down. We don't get what we want. We get what we tolerate in ourselves and in others. That's when your life will change. You see the difference in restaurants and the difference in businesses? Those differences you saw in that pyramid from those restaurants that are struggling at the very bottom and the ones that are driving the market at the top, the difference between those two, all 4 of those, is their standards, period. It's all their standards. Now, the main reason your standards have dropped is you started giving yourself excuses to not do the things you know deep down you have to do. Okay. You see, most restaurant owners have a list of things that they should do. I should market more. I should get online ordering. I should recruit better talent. I should cost out my menu. They basically should all day long. And basically, I just say they kind of should all over themselves. And they should themselves into mediocrity. The way you can stop this, if you want to stop this, you can stop this today by changing that one word. Change that word should into must. I must market more. I must get on online ordering. I must recruit better talent. I must cost out my menu. And I want you to take a kind of a play out of Hernan Cortez playbook. Because I say, if you want to take the island, you got to burn the boats. When you give yourself no way to go back, it's amazing what happens when that should becomes a must. That's what makes human beings succeed. What holds most people back in life is that they want guarantees from others, but we don't ask for guarantees from ourselves. You need to stop doing that. And I'll give you an example of restaurants that have a high standard. Probably in the United States, probably one of the most well-known restaurants is called the French Laundry from Thomas Keller. Number three habit or trait. They attract A players. Here's a great thing I want you to remember. You can't make a great soup out of rotten ingredients. The very best restaurants, the very best businesses understand that constantly recruiting and attracting top talent isn't something that they do just when they need to fill an empty spot on the team. They are always, emphasize the word always attracting top talent by the message they're sending out through their guest experience and through their marketing. Because here's the sad thing I have to tell you is that the restaurant world has a horrible reputation for treating people poorly. And we've seen this stuff before. We've seen these memes of, the conditions of restaurant workers. So much of that has basically inundated our marketing and inundated social media that much of the younger generation does not see the hospitality industry as a really good career choice. That so-called labor crisis in the United States, and I know it's also happening in Canada too. The labor crisis, it's a self-inflicted wound caused by decades of mental and physical transgressions between restaurant managers and restaurant workers. We have to do better. We have to do a better job, and we have to promote the right things. What I mean by promoting the right things, instead of praising the celebrity chef who works 16 hours a day and sacrifices their life for their craft, what I think we should do, or how about the restaurant owner that hasn't taken a vacation in 7 years because they have to be at their restaurant? The very best restaurants, the very best brands, they celebrate their culture. They celebrate their team. They celebrate diversity. They don't just post on social media. They market the energy of their brand and not just pictures of their food. Hashtag, write this down. Your vibe attracts your tribe. In the United States, probably one of the best known brands out there is Chick-fil-A. They are known for their culture. They are known for their attitudes. They're known for hiring outstanding people and training them, giving them the tools they need. Habit number 4, they live their core values. I always say your words tell me what you say you are, but your actions tell me the truth. Now, over the last 12 years of being the restaurant coach, I can tell you with 100% accuracy at the very best restaurants not only have a crystal clear why, but they also have a solid set of core values that they live. They hold their leadership team accountable to be an example of these core values. They hold themselves an example of these core values. The best restaurants in the US use their core values as an ethical compass for everything they do. I highly recommend that you create a core value mission card that you talk about with your team and your guest every single day. I have all of my clients create a core value mission card that they use with their team. Anytime they're having a discussion with the team, this core value mission card is out between them and the employee, and they're constantly using these for interviewing. Anytime they're talking about anything that's gone wrong in the restaurant, they're always circling everything back to their core values. And a great example of a restaurant that lives their core values and has probably some of the highest standards and core values I know of is Danny Myers and his Union Square Hospitality Group. Trait number 5 is a good one too. They have multiple revenue streams. I'm sure everyone on this listening to this thing today realized what happened when the pandemic hit and that one revenue stream you had got shut down. It really sucked. Because if you put all your eggs in one basket, don't be upset when that basket gets stolen. The pandemic taught us I tell a lot of restaurants that they need to expand their revenue streams. So how can you expand the revenue streams? Right? You don't want to rely on just one revenue stream. You want to be able to be able to have multiple streams. So for restaurants, a lot of them have kind of looked at some different revenue streams that are really popular, like ghost kitchens, virtual brands, retail outlets. This is one of my clients right here. She's the vegetable hunter in Pennsylvania. She actually bottles her own kombucha, and now she sells it in retail outlets. She sells it in grocery stores. She sells it at convenience stores, gas stations. Her kombucha line has really, really taken off. Some people have also found some extra revenue streams by doing pop-ups. Maybe like you're a burger place and you decide to do maybe a taco pop-up one night, or you're a barbecue place and you decide to do something unique and do a little special pop-up event. There's all kinds of different ways to diversify your revenue streams. The only thing you have to do is you have to get creative. You have to brainstorm. You have to get some out there. I would say it's never a lack of resources that hold people back. It's a lack of resourcefulness is what does. So here's the question. What could you do that could take off pressure of filling up your dining room? Okay. There's a lot of things you could do that could take pressure off of off that pressure of filling up your dining room. And that's where alternative revenue streams really, really come in. What could I do to take off the pressure of having a full dining room every night? That's what you want to start looking at. Hashtag write this down. It's never a lack of resources holds people back. I already said this. It's a lack of resourcefulness that does. And one of the brands in the United States that really came really solid through the pandemic was a big brand called Doghouse. They actually opened 2 virtual brands called Bad Mother Clucka. It's fried chicken. And then they did Badass Breakfast Burritos. 2 really strong virtual brands that they run out of their Doghouse brands. It opened up huge revenue streams for them. Now to the point that they actually have expanded these virtual brands all across the United States, and it's become a very solid revenue stream for them that has just enhanced their already existing brand as it is. Trait number 6, they're committed to training. You got to be committed to training. This is a great quote. We don't rise to the level of our expectations. We fall to the level of our training. That is so true. The very best restaurants and business in the world, they make training part of their culture. Now, McDonald's is known for their rapid growth, but that growth was only possible when they created a national training university called Hamburger University, Hamburger U, which allowed them to create a really consistent training program throughout their global brand that has given them success for the last 66 years. I find it hard to believe. McDonald's has been around for 66 years. That's crazy. And people that go to McDonald's to learn how to run McDonald's all go to Hamburger University. You got to have a training program. You got to have a solid training program about this. Right? Because here's the sad thing. 96% of restaurants, actually, I think the stats actually even businesses, 96% of businesses won't make it to 10 years. Okay. 66 years McDonald's has been around. That's an amazing statistic. I always say, love them or hate them, everyone on this call has heard of McDonald's. So if you want to rise to the top of your market, you want to be at that level that's outstanding, that driving, then you have to commit to being known as the restaurant or the business that trains their team more than anyone else. This is like the easiest thing you can do. You can make a commitment today. Remember I talked about you can easily improve your business by doing one thing, raising your standards. One of the things is you could easily do today is make a commitment to being known as the restaurant that outtrains everyone in our market. Okay. You got to be committed to training. And here's the thing. You can all do it if you make it a must. The restaurants in the United States that are really known for their training programs, of course, McDonald's already mentioned. Another one is called And Pizza, is another brand that's really super known for their training programs. Trait number 7, habit number 7 is that they create raving fans. You have 2 types of fans. You have internal and external. Don't sacrifice one for the other. The very best brands understand they have two types of guests. Okay. There are your external guests, your external guests that come to your restaurant to purchase your goods and services. And then you have your internal guests that create the experience for the external guest. The internal guest is your team. Sadly, average restaurants, good restaurants, focus on the guest experience and they forget the team experience. Outstanding restaurants that drive the market, they focus more on the team experience and trust that if I focus and dedicate myself to creating an amazing team experience, and then I'm going to trust that will enhance and improve my guest experience. There's an old saying that goes very similar like this: you don't build business, you build your people, and your people build your business. Many people think that culture and brand are the same thing. And now I'm going to tell you that while they're similar, they're also very different. And here's my real simple kind of definition. Brand is what your guests say about you. What your guests say about you online, to their friends, to their family. Culture is what your team says about you online, to their friends, to their family. What is your team saying about you? What is your team saying about working at your place? What is your team saying about your culture? Culture and brand, they live in a kind of a symbiotic state, kind of like this yin-yang symbol. They need each other and they rely on each other. You can't have one without the other. But the problem is some of us, we focus too much on one and not focus enough on the other. Now, brands in the United States that are known for this kind of thing are In-N-Out Burger, are really known, and also Chick-fil-A. Okay, both huge on this. Trait number 8, they focus on market domination. Hashtag write this down. Life's way too short to play small in the world. The very best restaurants in the United States, the very best restaurant brands, they don't dabble in marketing. They go all in every day with content that tells their story and shares their culture. They make a commitment to not just post, but rather they want to take you on a journey. And then when you get a chance, look at your social media feed when you get a second, all right, when you get a minute. What does it say about you other than that you sell food? This is a really inviting exercise to do. Take a look at your social media feed, stop for a second and say, what does it say about my restaurant? What does it say about my business other than what I sell? Do you invite me into a story? Do you show me why you do what you do? Remember, the why drives everything. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Do I feel you care more about me than yourself? Domination, market domination especially, occurs when you have a steady flow of content that lets the world know your why. And I'll tell you right now, one of the biggest mistakes I see, if you're not sharing your story, your culture, your passion, your mission, you're just making noise. And there's way too much noise on social media as there is. Hashtag write this down. Connect with people through emotions. It's the only way to market. You got to market with emotions. Some of the brands in the United States that are really well known for doing this, as Modern Market is another one. Starbucks, of course, is another great brand that markets with emotions. Nectar Juice Bar is another chain of restaurants in the United States that has an outstanding marketing program that actually does a lot of that kind of stuff. They share their culture. They take you on a story. They take you down into why they do what they do. Habit number 9. They embrace the spirit of hospitality and they use technology to keep connected. Did you know that the word hospitality comes from the Latin word hospice, which means to be a host? Memorable brands, the brands that stand at the top, those ones that are outstanding, that are drive the market, memorable brands make you feel special. They make you feel like a guest in their home. Okay. Now, some brands have an easier time doing this because they have a lot more contact points. Now, in restaurants, we have different contact points. It's called the guest journey. And I'm going to give you a couple examples of the guest journey. This is basically a template of what the typical guest journey is. You start at the top of the circle with our online reputation, because before anyone comes to your place of business, they're going to check you out online. They're going to see what your reviews are, check out your website, check out your social media. Then they're going to come to your restaurant. They're going to judge the entry. How does it look? Then they're going to actually go to the greeter. Then we go to the dining rooms and the restrooms. Then we go to the team itself, then the food and beverage. Now, here's the interesting thing I want you to look at. Most restaurants pride themselves on their food and beverage, but look at how many contact points are impacted before they even try your food. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 contact points before they even try your food. And we wonder why restaurants have a hard time. Remember, how you do anything is how you do everything. You want to focus on the details. Manage the guest journey every step of the way. Because after the food and beverage comes the check back. You know, did you come back? Did you ask an intelligent question? One of the things I hate when I go to restaurants is when the manager walks up to me or the server walks up to me after I've gotten my food and they ask me the most boring question in the world. How's everything? Everything's fine. Ask better questions and you get better answers. And then, of course, the cash out, the farewell. I'm always shocked how many restaurants don't say goodbye. You should always say goodbye. Say thank you. It's the most amazing thing in the world. 5 golden rules of hospitality. All right. Look at me, smile at me, talk to me, listen to me, and thank me. 5 golden rules of hospitality, but most people take them for granted. So this is like a standard guest journey. Now you can take this thing really like deep level. This is an example of the Starbucks experience map. And this is how fanatical Starbucks is about making sure that your journey, your guest experience at Starbucks is so meticulously crafted that they break it down into different things. Like, you know, they have the anticipation part, then they have the enter the building part, they have the engagement part, the exit, and then the reflection part. They take everything and they plot every step of the journey, every step of the interaction with the guest, and they try to enhance it to make it a better experience. That's why Starbucks is the predominant coffee brand in the world, because they have taken this thing to levels that most people would never dare to dig down to. Okay. Now, the fewer steps in your guest journey, the more you must ensure that every interaction is maximized. And what I mean by that is, like, you know, the pandemic, when it hit, you know, it took away many of those connections for a while. And some restaurants, some businesses are having a hard time adapting to a new way that guests interact with your brand, which is online. Here's the thing you have to remember. Technology is here, and you're going to have to embrace it, even if you don't like it. Because why? Because your guest and your team not only embrace it, but they also want it. So which technology, if you're especially in a restaurant, which technology should you be embracing? You should be embracing online ordering. You should be embracing mobile apps. Text message marketing is the new kind of hot topic right now. Everyone does text message. SMS marketing is the biggest thing in the United States. Everyone loves text message marketing. And the biggest thing I want to tell you to have right now is you got to have some kind of loyalty program. You got to have something available that people can earn points for doing business with you that helps them get loyalty rewards. And I know there's tons of different loyalty apps out there for different businesses too, not just restaurants. But I mean, I know beauty has Ali out there. There's tons of different apps. All the airlines have loyalty programs. You got to have a loyalty program for your business. You got to. And again, some of the restaurants in the United States that are really known for their loyalty programs. Of course, Starbucks is like probably one of the best ones. Mod Pizza has an amazing loyalty program. And another one in the United States is called Noodles and Company. Trait number 10, or habit number 10, they constantly protect the brand. I need you to always be aware of what's known as mediocrity creep. You gotta be aware of mediocrity creep. This is when you get comfortable. This usually happens. Remember, we talked about there's 4 different stages of restaurants or different growth. There's the bad, the good, the great, and the outstanding. Restaurants in the great category are most susceptible to mediocrity creep. Because why? Because you got some success going in the right direction. And what happens is you get comfortable. When you get comfortable, you invite complacency. When you invite complacency, you have just invited mediocrity. And that is the downside. And that's what happens to almost all brands. They get good, they get to that great level, and then they basically rest on their laurels. When you've worked so hard to create something amazing, you have to protect it at all times. There's a great brand out there in the world called Under Armour. I'm sure you've heard of it. Under Armour has a saying that becomes the foundation of their culture. Simple, 3 words: protect this house. This is the thing that they use all the time. They use it on their internal marketing with their team. They use it on their external marketing. It's the biggest thing they do. And you'll see like they have posters all the way. We will protect, inspire, champion, celebrate. That's what Under Armour stands for. That's their core values in action right there. We will protect, inspire, champion, celebrate. As you make your restaurant, as you make your business better, okay, you make it better by developing your mission, by really getting crystal clear in your core values, sharing your core values, and explaining your why to people, sharing those things. When you raise your standards to be the best version that you can become, you will become a target for other people. Everyone wants to see someone else fail. So as you get up in the market, as you get more notoriety, as you get more, don't be shocked or surprised when you start getting some haters. And a lot of these haters might be your competition. I hate to say it, but this happens. It's called crab mentality. And this crab mentality kind of is, if I can't have it, I'm not going to let you have it. If you've ever seen them harvest crabs, they don't put a lid on the bucket, because as the crab tries to crawl up and get out of the bucket, other crabs reach up and say, nope, you're not getting out, and they pull them back down. That's crab mentality. If I can't have it, I'm not going to let you have it either. Here's the thing you have to be aware of. That crab mentality could come from your competition, or it could come from someone working for you or with you. One of the great examples I have is when I worked for Wolfgang Puck. He always preached that we always made decisions all the time that protect this brand. So how do you protect your brand? What are some things that you can do? I would ask these questions. Do you have written standards? Do you have written recipes? Do you have multi-dimensional training systems? Do you have core values in place? Do you have your mission in place? Do you have solid training systems? Multi-dimensional training systems are the most important thing in the world. Most restaurants train they have training cultures. Training cultures, they train on the front end. What do I mean by front end? Usually they train people when they first get hired. Like, Joe starts with my restaurant. Joe comes in. Hey, Joe. Hey, welcome. Hey, follow Fred around for 3 days. Do what he does. Say what he says, and you'll be good. That's a training culture. Training cultures never really go past that great, because the problem is training cultures don't have that kind of constant need to improve. You want to develop what's known as a learning culture, where we're always trying to learn, always trying to improve, always trying to be better, always trying to just kind of maximize our kind of who we are, right? And that goes to trait number 11. Is the very best businesses and restaurants in the world, they practice what's known as Kaizen. Kaizen is a Japanese philosophy. It's basically kind of like, it's kind of a way of life in their culture in Japan. Kaizen means constant and never-ending improvement. Here's the thing I want you to remember. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse. Now, you might be saying, if I'm not getting better, I'm just basically maintaining. Well, in my world, maintaining is mediocrity, and mediocrity is worse. All of the outstanding restaurants in the United States and even around the world share this. They never settle for what was accomplished yesterday. Okay. And I mentioned this earlier. Kaizen is that Japanese term. It's a philosophy of constant and never-ending improvement. It is a commitment each day to be better than you were yesterday. And all of my clients have to adopt this philosophy. We call it the 1% rule. The 1% rule is that we always try to be 1% better than we were yesterday. It's a commitment that we make each day to ourselves. There's 4 things all my clients have to do every day. They have to always be marketing. They have to always be recruiting top talent. They have to always be training, and they always have to be improving. 4 things I always have them. They have to do it. It's a non-negotiable for me. They have to do those 4 things every single day. And I'm going to tell you right now, when you adopt this kind of commitment, this 1% improvement, it's amazing. When you adopt this into your life and into your culture, incredible things start to happen. And what do I mean by incredible things? You enjoy the journey to success more. You find that you don't get bored. You seek to learn and understand the world around you. You don't worry about the competition. You make your competition worry about you. Now, these 11 traits and these habits are what the most successful brands in the United States do. And they would help you take your brand, your business to the top of your market if you take them and if you apply them. I always say that tools, for all their great things they are, tools are just potential. A hammer on the table is just potential. It's not until I pick it up and use the hammer that actually becomes a tool. All the stuff we talked about today are just, I gave you tons of tools today, but you have to pick them up and you have to apply them, and you have to apply them consistently every single day to get them to work. And if you do, I promise you're going to have an amazing, amazing business, an amazing culture, and you will actually have the restaurant, the business, and the life that you desire. I want to say thank you so much today for Joe and Mark and Orangeville for inviting me to speak to you today. I mean, hospitality and kindness from your group has always been spectacular. I'm always been impressed by what you guys do. And it's amazing that the economic development team has really put together a lot of resources to help businesses. Here's my thing I would say: don't be afraid to ask for help, right? You don't have to do this alone. The biggest thing I know, and I tell people a lot, the 3 things that take down most restaurants are ego, pride, and denial. Ego, pride, and denial. It's not that bad. All right. No, it's pretty bad. All right. Denial. It's worse. Pride. Swallow your pride. Ask for help. If you don't know how to do it, trust me, they have the resources to help you. Remember, it's never lack of resources that hold people back. It's lack of resourcefulness. Do not be afraid to use the resources. When I opened my first restaurant, the Small Business Administration, and there was a group called SCORE Retired Executives. They really helped me get off the ground and help my business. And then, even though I had restaurant experience when I opened my first restaurant, I thought just because I had restaurant experience, opening my first restaurant would be a slam dunk. It wasn't. I really struggled that first 6 months of opening my first restaurant. And if it wasn't for, I had a really, really great patron, a loyal guest who came in, who was a very successful businessman, who sat down with me one night and had the talk with me about how bad things were. And then I was in denial. And then, and I used to just say, well, next month will be different. Next month will be different. And then next month come, and then I would say, next month will be different. It'll be better next month. And then he sat down with me and he said, Donald, I hate to tell you this. And I think the excuse I gave at the time was, we're just kind of a little under the radar. And he says, man, the last thing you want to be is under the radar as a restaurant. And then he was a very, very successful businessman. He offered to give me 1 hour a week of mentoring for a year. And he sat down with me once a week for an hour, and I took meticulous notes. And a lot of the same things he taught me about business, about building a profitable brand, about marketing, about building relationships, all the things he taught me, basically, a lot of those frameworks have now become the basis of what I coach restaurants about. Do not ever look at gift horse and mouse. When someone asked if, would you like some help? Take the help, take the assistance. There's always, you want to have this kind of beginner's mindset that you're always learning, always developing, always helping. My mission has always been to help independent restaurants build their brand, increase and strengthen their teams, and increase their profits. And if I can be of service to you, please reach out to me. You can always reach out to me. My email is donald@therestaurantcoach.com. Again, I want to say thank you so much for everyone tuning in today, for listening to this. I know we probably got some great questions lined up.
We do, Donald, and on behalf of our team here with the Economic Development Office, BDAC, and the Small Business Enterprise, and those that are watching, we are absolutely taken back by all that you have shared, and we do have a number of questions that we've been able to assemble And so
Awesome.
we're going to post some of those in just a few minutes. In fact, I'll be doing that in just a second. I would just like to remind our viewers that are joining us today virtually that you do have an opportunity to pick up a complimentary book by Donald Burns, which is called Your Restaurant Sucks, and it is available for pickup at the Economic Development Office, which is located at 200 Lakeview Court. Donald, I was just taken back by so much information in a very short period of time, and we only have approximately a little more than maybe 15, close to maybe 20 minutes because of your schedule. But again, I'd like to pose some of the questions that came through, and they do form somewhat of a theme based on the overall theme in your presentation. And so I'm just going to get right to them. And so here we go. So the first question we have is, do most successful restaurants have similar core values?
Yeah, well, so core values, a lot of restaurants have very similar core values. Now, when we're looking at core values, I always say there's a couple different types of core values, and you want core values to be kind of an ethical compass of how you want your team to perform. Here's the thing I want to remind you. Core values drive behavior. So some of the common core values I see in restaurants are integrity. That's a great core value because, integrity is doing the right thing when no one's looking. That's a great one. Hospitality tends to be a core value I see a lot of restaurants have because we want to have this attitude about being of service to others, being a host to others. Respect is another huge one. It's probably one of the core values I really, really love. It's one of my core values, actually. And it's actually an interview question I use when I'm interviewing people at restaurants is because just think about this. If someone doesn't respect themselves, you think there's any way they're going to respect your restaurant, respect your product, respect your team, respect your guests? No way. So respect's another common one. Communication's another one. One of my common things I say in a lot of my books is that all business problems are people problems. Well, the other side of that coin is that all people problems are usually communication problems. So if we can solve those things up front, that's usually a thing. Yeah, there's usually like 5 or 6 core values I think is like the best ones. A lot of restaurants have some similar core values. It depends. Some restaurants like to be involved in their community. So maybe community is one of their core values they have. Some people have love as a core value. Some people have diversity as a core value. It really depends. And it also ties into your why. What's your big, huge vision for your brand? And that's what you want your core values to be tied to. Mission, core values, and vision, your why, they're basically, it's like I call it the triad. And you got to have all 3 sections of the triad together. You can't go one by themselves. All right. How's that?
All right. That again also reminded me of some other parts of your presentation. The why really stuck out throughout your delivery of how to support and thrive during a post-pandemic period. And I think that, I take a look at the resiliency that many of our businesses in our community have been able to apply. They were inventive, they are resilient, they have been really strong on ensuring that they have been able to remain in business. But you did reference alternative revenue sources or revenue streams. And so another question that came up is, can your alternative revenue streams deviate from your core competencies, and should they?
They can deviate from it. You don't want to get too distracted. There's I have a whole list of core of like different revenue streams that people can build off of. I have a list. It's actually like, I think when the pandemic first hit, I have a mastermind group. It's called Restaurant Masterminds. And we actually did an exercise where we did a revenue stream kind of mind map. I love mind maps, by the way. And we actually came up with 75 different revenue options for restaurants that they could actually tap into. And it was really, really great because it was great because when you brainstorm and think, there's a lot of different things. Now, are they applicable to every restaurant? No, of course. You want to kind of stay within your 4 walls and stuff like that. Like, you could easily say, oh, I could get a smoker and I could start doing barbecue, but you're a breakfast restaurant. You know what I mean? Maybe that doesn't really work for you. You got to be in alignment with who your brand is. You don't want to displace your brand. Well, that goes into a whole separate topic about brand positioning and stuff like that. But one of the things I want to remind you is that, yeah, revenue streams are great. And some of the easy low-hanging fruit ones are bottling your dressings. Maybe you have some unique spices that you use or spice rubs you do. You could easily make spice rubs and you could sell them retail. You could easily offer cooking classes maybe as a revenue stream. You could offer some easy to do stuff like that. There's lots of easy to do revenue models that you could add to that won't really challenge or push your brand too far.
Okay. One thing that I noticed you had mentioned about under revenue streams, and this was very unique, and it doesn't necessarily apply to all of the restaurants or the the businesses, but the concept of pop-ups and virtual brands that you refer to in even somewhat of a pop-up retail outlet. I've seen some of that apply with some of our businesses here over a period of time when there were allowances provided through public health, and so maybe some of that is an area that some of our other participants in the session here today can use as takeaways. But I found that to be really unique, and especially the point is it's not necessarily for everybody, but I guess everyone has to take a look at that as a consideration. Another question that came up, and I was also again very impressed by the culture component that you referenced several times throughout your presentation. And so the question that was posed, and I'd like to share with you, can you as an owner communicate culture externally, or can it be only portrayed by your staff?
No. So culture, so one of the things I always say is culture flows down, doesn't flow up. Culture always starts with you. Culture has to be, number one, it has to be portrayed by you by being the example. And that's a beautiful thing that you can use on social media. The most powerful thing to do on social media today is to do video. And videos are a great way of you just maybe just sitting there talking about why you started your little restaurant in the first place, what gets you up in the morning. Take me on a little journey with you. Maybe you got your camera. I mean, everyone nowadays has a mobile studio in their hands with their smartphone, and you got a video on there. You can easily hey, maybe Saturday morning you like to go to the farmer's market. Why don't you take me on a little journey with you? Hey, one of the things that's really important to us is local. It's one of our core values. It's one of the things that we really emphasize in our brand. So, hey, I want to take you down and I want you to explore a local farmer's market with me. Oh, this is Fred. Fred has a little mushroom place around the corner. I love his mushrooms. And in fact, hey, let's go talk to Fred. Hey, Fred, we talk about mushrooms. I mean, it's a great way to show me what you're into, why your culture. And another thing, if you're having trouble hiring people, I'll tell you right now, it's because you haven't showcased your culture enough in your social media. You haven't shown me why you're different. Remember, all restaurants have a bad reputation. We treat people bad. We're going to work you to death. We're not going to pay you a lot. So if you want to show me that you're different, you got to market that and show me some videos of you and your team having a great time. Show me your culture in action. Show me your team laughing, joking. Show me your team in a training session that, hey, we're dedicated to learning and teaching our team. We have a learning culture, not just a training culture. We out-train everybody. Show your team having sessions, have them doing tastings. I mean, show me why you guys are different. Remember, if you don't tell me why you're different, I assume you're like every other restaurant in town.
Those tangible benefits that sometimes don't necessarily get focused on, as you mentioned, and not to apply this to every single business or restaurant that we have in our community, but there are those that are so focused on the day-to-day, they don't necessarily broaden that view. And I think that is an absolute in successful operations. So I've got a few things that I have to look at here, Donald, and I'm trying to not only, of course, respond and share some of the wonderful questions that we have from our participants, which we have a number, but I also wanted to focus on that guest journey. Can that guest journey apply to a business that is a non-hospitality business?
Yes. Every business has a customer or a guest, or it depends on what your nomenclature is for your business, but you all have an experience. You have a cycle of service, basically. And a lot of it starts, especially nowadays, with an online component that they're going to go to your website, they're going to check you out, they're going to look at it. Like, even if you're an insurance thing, let's say you're an insurance dealer, right? You sell insurance in town. I'm an insurance guy. What's my online reputation? What's my look like? What's my stuff online? Am I posting stuff that's showing that, I say I'm about family and community. Am I doing stuff with the family and community? Am I showing what I'm saying I'm about? And then, of course, am I having welcoming stuff? Am I giving information about stuff like that? Am I giving people the knowledge they need? Am I helping them kind of resolve some of that trepidation and hesitancy they have about making a decision? Am I feeding their information to them so they make a more informed decision? What's the cycle? There's always touch points along the way. You just got to basically say, and the easiest way to do it is like basically get a piece of paper, right? Not a customer, and then right in the end, loyal repeat customer, and then what are the touch points in between that they have to go through to get to be a loyal customer, and just reverse engineer it and break it down, and that becomes your guest journey, your customer journey.
Those touch points are really important, and this is not to say that everyone in our community has to jump on whatever that bandwagon is. We have, of course, a very strong sports community. We have a very impressive and growing cultural diversity in our community, and we also have, I think, a lot of new entrepreneurs that have moved in and during the pandemic have come up with a variety of initiatives and ideas, and are just in that, I guess, pre-launch stage. And so some of them, of course, I'm hoping have joined us today. There was a couple of other points that you shared that in one question, and this is not to say that I'm not familiar with, but, not everyone can become accustomed and or, really prolific at being a social influencer, a TikTok favorite, somebody that is, savvy on whatever the platform, Instagram and Facebook and so on and so forth. But you talked about text messaging marketing, and this doesn't seem to be as prevalent in Canada as it may be in the US. And so if you could kind of give us, the 30-second elevator on what it's all about, that would be really helpful, because I can guarantee that people are going to look at this as an option, because, many of us thrive on text messaging, but they're not necessarily using that particular platform to market. So I'd like to hear a little bit more about that from you.
Yeah, there's some great platforms out there that will help you kind of do this. The number one thing you want to think of, whatever business you're in, the most valuable thing you can get when someone walks through your door of your business is to get data. And basically what I need is I need your email. And, a lot of people think email is kind of outdated. Email still works. I mean, how do you sign up for most social media? Use your email. So when people say email is an outdated source, I'll say, no, it's just that, it's still there. It's just a lot of people just don't use it for what it is. But the biggest thing nowadays is to get people's, phone numbers, a text message, and say, hey, especially let's say you're a retail shop. Someone comes in, they're shopping, they're looking for something. And let's say like Joe, you're in my shop, and hey Donald, hey Joe, how you doing today, man? Hey, what are you looking for? I'm looking for a blazer. I need a new sport jacket. Well, what are you looking for? I was looking for something maybe a little plaid. Hey, I don't have anything in stock, but I got some new stuff coming in this Friday. Hey, how about this? Hey, if I get your number, I'll text you and I'll send you some photos of stuff we get in. So that way you don't have to drive all the way down here. And that way it save you a trip. That way I could show you some stuff, via text. If you like it, I could pull a couple things aside for you. That way you can consolidate your trips. Oh, that'd be cool. That'd be great, man. I love that. Now I got your number. Now I'm texting you. Now I get these really cool jackets in. I take a couple pictures. I text me. Oh, I like that one. That sounds really cool. What size is it? Oh, I have your size. And that's awesome. I'll save it, But now I also, hey, I'd love to kind of keep you in the loop. If I got some other stuff coming up, would you be okay with that? Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. Because now we got a relationship, and now I can text message you. Right. Then there's actually platforms that you can do. There's quite a few different ones. I have one I use for my restaurant coach brand. It's a text message marketing thing where people sign up for it, and then they get daily text messages from me every morning, where they sign up to get motivational stuff or quotes from my books or ideas they can do to help, make their brand a little better, because I really focus on this 1% improvement every day. And so I got quite a few people signed up for this. And then every once in a while, I might throw out, hey, I'm doing a 2-day workshop in Scottsdale. If you'd like some more information, just let me know. And then they text me back. And if they want information, it's great. If they don't, that's great too. But they have the option. It's a great platform. And I find I get a lot more engagement with text messaging. And I think the stats are 90% of people open a text message compared to an email, which is usually 6 to 10% at the most. So it's a great open rate. You just got to make sure that you're approaching it right and don't abuse it. That's the number one thing I would say. Don't become a spamaholic and text everybody every day, 5 times a day, because then they'll definitely not want to be part of it. So
you have to be strategic with those touch
yeah.
points, and I really think that the idea of utilizing the text messaging marketing concept is a very positive one, and one that if used properly can end up thriving depending on the business and the entity. We're getting very close to the conclusion of our presentation here today, but this is one that I think that will kind of summarize much about our community, and one thing that I think is very important. When we're talking about a smaller community, but it is one that has ambitious goals, and we have so many great entrepreneurs and business leaders here. Many of your examples, Donald, are of larger businesses that have many more resources to accomplish some of the habits that you identified. How would you recommend a smaller, independently owned business get started on what are the most important habits to focus on?
Mm-hmm. Well, the number one habit, of course, is raise your standards. And that is easy to start. Raising your habits, setting up your core values, understanding your why doesn't cost you anything. Now, yeah, a lot of those big brands have big, huge infrastructures. They have multi-billion-dollar, marketing things. But the biggest thing I noticed with even small restaurants is just consistency. You got to be consistent and persistent. Social media, I tell people you got to post on social media at least twice a day. Because what's social media about? Marketing is not about getting a sale. Everyone thinks marketing is about getting a sale. I don't have any guests in my restaurant. I'll put up a post, and that means everyone's going to be flooding my restaurant. It doesn't work like that. Marketing is about keeping your brand top of mind. And now use McDonald's again as an example. Everyone knows who McDonald's is, but you never see them not market. I mean, they have brand penetration. Everyone knows who McDonald's is. So why do they stop? Why would they stop? Why wouldn't they stop marketing? Because they just want to keep those golden arches in front of your face all the day. So there's little things, even a small restaurant, it's all about just taking those first steps, raising your standards, setting up your core values, marketing more consistently, training programs. You can set up a training program in-house. You can actually use an online, you can use Google Classroom to set up an online training platform for free. And you can have an online training university for your team. And you can actually, and I've showed my members how to set up a Google Classroom for free, how to shoot training videos with their phone or iPhone, upload them to Google Classroom, and now you got a training portal for your team. There's lots of easy things you can do. It doesn't require a lot of money.
You talked about very quickly, the point of low-hanging fruit, and you have been able to summarize so many opportunities for our businesses in our community, the restaurants, as well as other entrepreneurs to thrive in a post-pandemic economy. And on behalf of everyone that has joined us today, on behalf of the Small Business Enterprise, the Business and Economic Development Advisory Committee, and the Town of Orangeville, I'd like to thank you so much for being a part of our virtual presentation. Donald, the information that you shared I no doubt will be truly appreciated and utilized by members of our community. And I do hope that, some who've joined us today, word will get out that they can end up hopefully, sending you an email, posing some questions that we didn't get a chance to do so today. And we wanted to remind everyone of Donald's book, one of three of the trilogy that you have. I know you've mentioned the other one is coming out this month, but we have an opportunity for members who are viewing to get your book, Your Restaurant Sucks. It's available at the Economic Development SBEC office, which is located at 200 Lakeview Court. On behalf of everyone, Donald, I want to thank you so much for, out of your very busy schedule, to be a part of this inspirational virtual presentation. I'm so proud to have had the opportunity to work with a tremendous team at the Economic Development Office, and you made reference to that throughout your presentation on some of the inspiration that you had early in your career, and of course, no doubt you have that as you continue with so many things that you're doing literally around the world. So on behalf of everyone that's been here today, we want to thank you so much, and Donald, I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys so much for having me. Thank you for allowing me to share some gold nuggets with your members.
All right. Thank you, and take care, everyone. All the best.